The Tigers take on the Twins, 1:10 p.m. Eastern start time. The Minnesota Twins are minus 135, totals 10.5, juice to the under. The Tigers are plus $1.15 for some money line cash. And if you like them on the run line, they're minus 145, catching the 1.5. Willie Peralta is on the mound here for Detroit. Jay Happ for Minnesota. We went 3-2 in our 5 premium sports picks on my Patreon website yesterday. We're also 5-2 in our last 7 board member tier package picks on that Patreon page. And the good news is we have another board member tier package pick going off here today. We currently have over 950 people who are signed up and active on that Patreon page. And if you want to see which one of these YouTube picks I'm actually betting on personally, the link for that site is in the description section below. And once again, that's patreon.com/BrockPage. Now, the last place Twins are 16 games below 500, just 3-6 straight up in their last 9. The Twins are in the bottom 3 in runs allowed, bottom 5 in hits allowed. Jay Happ comes into today's game with a 6.14 ERA and a 1.49 whip. The Twins are taking on a Detroit squad who won 6 out of their last 10. And they're led by Jonathan Schoop, who's batting .284. with 17 homers and 60 RBI. They also have Willie Peralta on the bump here today, 3-2 on the season, .256 ERA. The righties also got a whip of just 1.01. Now, total-wise, 3 out of Detroit's last 5 road games got over the line. They're also 31-22 to the over in all of their road games. Meanwhile, the Twins, they're 15-6 to the over in their divisional home games. I'm going to lean toward the Detroit Tigers plus 1.5 and the over 10.5 runs. Next game, Cards, Indians, 110 East. St. Louis is minus 115, totals 8.5. Kwang Young Kim for St. Louis. Zach Plesac for Cleveland. Now, Plesac's 5-3 on the year with a 1.06 whip. Despite a pretty rough stretch here recently, the Indians still have a winning record at Progressive Field. Their lineup's in the top 10 in fewest home strikeouts at the plate. Jose Ramirez has hit 21 homers and knocked in 59. They're taking on a St. Louis club who lost 5 out of their last 8 interleague contests. The St. Louis lineup is in the bottom 5 in scoring, bottom 10 in hits. When it comes to the number in this one, the Cards are 29-24 to the over when they bat first. Meanwhile, the Indians are 28-20 to the over as the home team. I'm going to lean toward the underdog Cleveland Indians plus $1 and the over 8.5. Next matchup, Blue Jays, Red Sox, Game 1. That's going to be a 2:10 p.m. Eastern start time in the first of a doubleheader. This game's currently off the board. Robbie Ray possible for the Blue Jays, Garrett Richards maybe for the Bo Sox. Now, the first place Red Sox are on a 2-game winning streak, and they also got the W in 6 out of their last 7. Now, the Red Sox are 32-20 straight up at Fenway, and they rank in the top 5 in home scoring. Rafael Devers leads the team in homers and RBI. The third baseman has 27 home runs and knocked in 81. He's actually leading the majors in runs batted in. Meanwhile, J.D. Martinez has hit 20 home runs and knocked in 64. Now, J.D.'s got himself an OPS of 928. The Bo Sox are taking on a struggling Blue Jays club who lost their last 2 straight. And they also went 1-5 straight up in their last 6. Now, the Jays currently have a losing record against divisional opponents. They've gotten the W in only 21 out of 46 divisional games. This Toronto lineup is in the bottom 5 in road walks at the plate. And if Steven Matz does get the start in Game 1 here, he's got a 4.34 ERA and a 1.32 whip. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward the Boston Red Sox, winning Game 1 for some money line cash. Next matchup, Astros Mariners, 3:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Houston Astros are minus 120, numbers 8.5. Jake Odorizzi for Houston, Yusei Kikuchi for Seattle. But as good as Cucci's been, he's got 5 losses thus far in the year, and his ERA is starting to creep up near the 4s. Seattle has serious problems at the plate as well. They're dead last in the league in hits on average per game. They're also being held to under 6.5 hits per contest at T-Mobile Park. They're also in the bottom three in home strikeouts at the plate. Now they're taking on a first-place Houston club who won 6 out of their last 8 themselves, and they lead the league in scoring. Jose Altuve's touched home plate 74 times this year. The little guy's hit 23 home runs and ranks in the top 15 in the league in that category. Meanwhile, Kyle Tucker and Yordan Alvarez have each hit 19 homers apiece themselves. This Houston lineup also leads the majors in hits per game, as well as fewest strikeouts per contest as well. Now, total-wise, the Astros went 60% to the over in their last 10 outings, 3-1 to the over in their last 4 on the road. I'm going to lean toward the Houston Astros minus 120 and the over 8.5. Next ball game, A's Pods, 4:10 p.m. East. The San Diego Padres are minus 135, totals 8. Blake Snell for San Diego. Sean Manaea for Oakland. And as good as Manaea's been, he still has 6 losses on the season. And the A's are currently on a 4-game losing streak. Now, Oakland has also dropped 6 out of their last 9. And they rank in the bottom 10 in hits on average per game. Now, Oakland's taking on a Padres club who definitely plays their best baseball at home. They're currently 4-0 in their last 4 interleague games at the Coliseum. I'm sorry, not the Coliseum. At Petco Park. 34-19 overall at home for the season. This Padres pitching staff is in the top 10 in strikeouts per game. They also give up just 3.6 runs a game on their home field. Now, Blake Snell's 4-3 on the season with 104 strikeouts and just over 80 innings of work. He's a great pitcher. I'm looking, forward to seeing him excel in the second half of the season here, despite a rough first half. And of course, when it comes to the total on this one, Oakland went 70% to the under in their last 10 ball games, 3-2 to the under in their last 5 on the road. I'm going to lean toward the San Diego Padres minus 135 and the under 8 runs. Next game, Marlins O's, 7:05 Eastern start time. The Baltimore Orioles are minus $1.15, numbers 9.5. Jorge Lopez for Baltimore, Jordan Holloway for Miami. Now, Holloway's got a 3.21 ERA coming into today's contest. The Marlins are also on a 3-game winning streak, and they rank in the top 10 in fewest hits allowed per contest. They're also holding their opponents to only 3.8 runs a game. They're taking on a last-place Baltimore club who has the fewest wins in all of the American League. The O's are also winning just 34% of their games at Camden Yards. And speaking of Camden Yards, the O's are allowing more runs at home than any other team in baseball. They're also in the bottom 3 in home hits allowed as well. Jorge Lopez is a pitiful 2-12 thus far in the season, 5.84 ERA and a 1.62 WHIP. And when it comes to the total in this one, Baltimore's 28-19 to the over as the home team. Meanwhile, the Marlins saw 4 out of their last 6 road games get over the total themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Miami Marlins plus $1 in the over 9.5. Next matchup, Brewers versus the Pirates, 7:05 Eastern first pitch. Milwaukee's minus 140, totals 9. Adrian Hauser for Milwaukee. It looks like Max Kranick possible for Pittsburgh. Now, Kranick comes into this game with limited experience and a 5.73 ERA. The righties also got a 1.36 WHIP. Now, the last place Buccos have the second fewest wins in the National League. They're also 24 games below 500. Pittsburgh's dropped 6 out of their last 8 ball games. They're dead last in the majors in scoring on average per contest. This Pittsburgh outfit averages only 3.6 runs a game. Now, they're taking on a first-place Brewers club who leads the majors in striking batters out. They're fanning nearly 11 batters a game. And, of course, Adrian Hauser, he's 6-5 on the season with a 3.88 ERA and 74 strikeouts. This Brewers pitching staff leads the majors in fewest hits allowed per game. They give up just 3.3 runs per contest when they travel. And when it comes to the number in this one, Milwaukee went 70% to the under in their last 10 outings, 26-19 to the under in their divisional games. I'm going to lean toward the Milwaukee Brewers minus 140 and the under 9 runs. Next matchup, Nationals versus the Phillies, 7:05 East. The Philadelphia Phillies are minus $2, totals 8. Zach Wheeler for the Titans, Patrick Corbin for Washington. Now Corbin's got 6 wins on the season, along with 80 strikeouts. This Washington Nationals team, they also have a winning record against the NL East. Their lineup's in the top 10 in road scoring, top 3 in road hits. Trey Turner is batting .322 with 18 home runs and an .890 OPS. Now, the shortstop is currently 5th in the majors in batting average. Meanwhile, Juan Soto is batting .295 with an OPS of .930. The outfielder is currently 10th in the league in OPS. Washington is taking on a Philly club who lost 5 out of their last 8, and they rank in the bottom 10 in striking out at the plate. This Philly pitching staff is also in the bottom 10 in hits allowed per game. As good as Zach Wheeler's been, he still managed to suffer 5 losses thus far in the year. And when it comes to the scoring in this one, Philly went 60% to the over in their last 10 outings. I'm going to lean toward the Washington Nationals plus 1.5 in the over 8 runs. Next matchup, Yankees-Rays, 7:10 p.m. Eastern start time. The Tampa Bay Rays are minus 120, totals 8.5, juice to the over. Michael Wacha for Tampa Bay, Nestor Cortez for the Yankees. Despite some pretty good numbers out of Cortez, he's seen fairly limited innings this year, and he is yet to pick up his first win. The Yankees have also played quite lackluster in their divisional games, just 21-28 thus far against the AL East. This Yankees lineup is also in the bottom 10 in scoring, bottom 10 in hits. Now they're taking on a Tampa club who's been real good in their divisional contest themselves. 26-16 straight up against the AL East for Tampa Bay. They're also 30-19 straight up at the Trop this year. This Tampa Bay pitching staff is in the top 3 in fewest hits allowed at home. They're giving up only 3.2 runs a game at Tropicana Field as well. Michael Wacha, he suffered only 2 losses thus far in the season, 57 strikeouts through just over 66 innings. When it comes to the total in this one, the Rays are 13-9 to the under in their divisional games at home. Meanwhile, the Yankees saw their last 5 straight on the road stay under the line themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Tampa Bay Rays minus 120 in the under 8.5. Next matchup I have for you, it is going to be Braves versus the Mets, 7:10 East. The New York Mets are minus $1.25, numbers 8. Tyler McGill for New York, Max Fried for Atlanta. Now, Fried's got 6 losses on this season, 4.46 ERA and a 1.37 WHIP. Atlanta's currently got a losing road record, and their lineup averages nearly double-digit strikeouts a game. They're also in the bottom 10 in road hits. They're taking on a first-place Mets club who won 6 out of their last 10 themselves. And they also played their best baseball in Flushing, Queens. The Mets are currently 31-17 straight up at Citi Field. They also lead the majors in fewest runs allowed per game at home. Tyler McGill, he's got a 2.10 ERA through 30 innings of work, 33 strikeouts and a 1.10 WHIP. The righty still hasn't lost a game yet. This Mets pitching staff also leads the majors in fewest hits allowed at home. They give up only 2.7 runs a game at Citi Field. Now, when it comes to the scoring in this one, 4 out of New York's last 6 home games stayed under the line. 14-6 to the under in their divisional games in Flushing, Queens. Meanwhile, the Braves saw 60% of their divisional road games stay under the total themselves. I'm going to lean toward the New York Mets minus $1.25 in the under 8 runs. Next ball game, it is going to be Reds versus the Cubs, 8:05 Eastern Standard Time. The Cincinnati Reds are minus $1.15, totals 10 flat. Tyler Mahle for Cincinnati, Zach Davies for Chicago. Now, Davies has 6 wins on the season, along with 70 strikeouts. The Cubbies have also won 3 out of their last 5, and they boast a 31-19 record at Wrigley Field. Javi Baez has hit 22 home runs and knocked in 65. The shortstop's currently in the top 15 in the game in RBIs. Meanwhile, Chris Bryant's also hit 18 home runs and knocked in 51. Now they're taking on a Reds club who lost 6 out of their last 10, and they rank in the bottom 10 in runs allowed per contest. The Cincinnati pitching staff is also walking 4.2 batters a game. And as good as Tyler Mahle's been, his whip is starting to creep up near the 130 mark. Now when it comes to the total, the Reds are 13-9 to the under in their divisional road games. Meanwhile, the Cubs saw nearly 60% of their divisional home games stay under the line as well. I'm going to lean toward the underdog Chicago Cubs plus $1 in the under 10 runs. Next ball game. It is going to be D-backs versus the Rangers, 8:05 p.m. East. Both teams are minus $1.10 with a total at 9 flat. Jordan Lyles for the Rangers, Madison Bumgarner for Arizona. Now, Mad Bum's just 4-6 on the season with a 5.09 ERA. The D-backs still have the worst record in Major League Baseball, and they also find themselves 40 games below 500. Now, they're dead last in runs allowed, dead last in hits allowed as well. The D-backs have also lost all 8 of their interleague games this year. They're taking on a Rangers club who's in the top 10 in fewest walks allowed at home. They're giving away just 2.8 free passes a game at Globe Life Field. Meanwhile, Jordan Lyles, he struck out 84 batters and has 5 wins thus far in the year. Now, total-wise, 3 out of Texas's last 6 interleague home games got over the number. Meanwhile, Arizona saw 6 out of their last 8 interleague contests get over the line themselves. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward the Texas Rangers minus $1.10 in the over 9 runs. Next ball game, it is going to be White Sox versus the Royals, 8:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Chicago White Sox are minus 180, totals 9.5, juice to the over. Lucas Giolito for Chicago, Chris Bubich for Kansas City. And despite a bit of a rough start to the year, the Boobs got himself 3 wins on the year with 57 strikeouts. The Royals have won 6 out of their last 7 ball games, and they've got a winning record at Kauffman Stadium. This Kansas City lineup is in the top 3 in fewest strikeouts at the plate. They're also in the top 5 in hits on average per game at home. Salvador Perez has hit 23 home runs and knocked in 62. The catcher is in the top 20 in both of those stats. Meanwhile, Carlos Santana's hit 17 homers himself, and he's driven in 55. Now, they're taking on a White Sox club who lost 4 out of their last 6 ball games. As a matter of fact, Chicago scored 3 runs or less 5 times during that span. The Chicago lineup's in the bottom half of the league in strikeouts at the plate when traveling. Meanwhile, pitching-wise, well, they're in the bottom 10 in walks allowed on the road. Now, Lucas Giolito, as good as he's looked in many spots, a lot of strikeouts, he still has 7 losses thus far in the year, and he finds his ERA creeping close to to that 4 mark. Now, when it comes to the scoring in this one, Chicago went 80% to the under in their last 10, 5-0 to the under in their last 5 on the road. Meanwhile, the Royals saw 5 out of their last 8 home games stay under the line themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Kansas City Royals plus 1.5 and the under 9.5 runs. Next ball game, Rockies versus the Angels, 9:38 Eastern start time. The LA Angels are minus 205, totals 9.5. Andrew Heaney for Los Angeles. Chichi Gonzalez for Colorado. Now, Chichi is just 3-6 on the season, 6.06 ERA and a 1.46 whip. The Rockies still have the fewest road wins in all the majors. They're just 11-37 straight up when traveling, and that's good for only 22% in that particular category. Colorado's dead last in road scoring, dead last in road hits. The Rockies are averaging only 3.04 runs a game when they bat first. They're taking on an Angels club who won 3 out of their last 4, and they rank in the top 3 in home scoring. Shohei Ohtani's got 36 homers along with 78 RBI. The Sluggers also got an OPS of 1.044. Now, Sho's currently leading the majors in the home run category. Meanwhile, Jared Walsh has hit 22 home runs and knocked in 67 He's in the top 15 in both of those categories himself. Now, Andrew Heaney, he's taking the mound here today for Los Angeles. He's been a strikeout machine this year. The lefty's fanned 105 batters in just 88 innings of work. He also has 6 wins thus far in the year. And when it comes to the number in this one, the Angels' last 4 straight home games all got over the total. They're also 35-16 of the over at Angel Stadium for the entire season. I'm going to lean toward the LA Angels -1.5 and the over 9.5. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our next and final matchup. It is going to be Dodgers-Giants, 9:45 Eastern first pitch. The LA Dodgers are -140, total 7.5 flat. Walker Buehler for Los Angeles, Anthony DeSclafani for San Francisco. Now, Anthony's 10-4 in the year with a 2.87 ERA and a 1.00 WHIP. The righties also fanned 110 batters on the season. Now, the first place Giants are 3 games ahead of the Dodgers in the standings, and they also got the W in 5 out of their last 8. San Francisco has also been really good at home. They're 32-15 at Oracle Park, 12-5 straight up in their divisional home games. And speaking of the division, San Francisco is currently 27-15 straight up against the NL West. They lead the league in fewest runs allowed. They also lead the league in fewest walks allowed. They're taking on a Dodger club who failed to cash in on the run line in 8 out of their last 10 ball games. The Dodgers also lost 6 out of their last 9 straight up. And their lineup's in the bottom half of the league in strikeouts per game at the plate. And when it comes to the total in this one, the Dodgers are 22-19 of the over against National League opponents on the road. Meanwhile, the Giants have seen 65% of their divisional home games get over the line themselves. I'm going to lean toward the San Francisco Giants +1.5 and the over 7.5 runs. And with that, guys, now it's time for our quick pick recap. Powered to you by my Patreon website. I like Detroit +1.5, over 10.5. Cleveland +$1, over 8.5 runs. I like the Boston Red Sox winning that one outright for some money line cash. I also like Houston -$1.20, over 8.5. I'm leaning towards San Diego -135, under 8 runs. I also like Miami +$1, over 9.5. I'm leaning toward Milwaukee -140, under 9 runs. I also like Washington +1.5 and the over 8. Give me Tampa Bay -120, under 8.5. New York Mets -$1.25, under 8 runs. Chicago Cubs +$1, under 10. Texas Rangers -$1.10, over 9 runs. Kansas City Kansas City +1.5, under 9.5. LA Angels -1.5, over 9.5 runs. Before I give you my next and final free pick for the video, one final reminder that we are coming fresh off a 3-2 day in our 5 premium sports picks on my Patreon website. We're also 5-2 in our last 7 board member tier package picks on that Patreon page as well. I'm going to lean toward the San Francisco Giants +1.5 and the over 7.5 runs. Of that, guys, now it's time for our shout out of the day. And that goes to Jose Salazar, who said, and I quote, "LFG Brock, let's sweep the board." Well, I'll tell you what, we didn't sweep the board, but we did have a pretty good day. I believe we went, was it 1 game over 500 in our free picks? I think it was like 13, 12, and 2, or maybe 16, 15, and 2. I forget, but we were 1 game over 500 with a couple of pushes in our free leans here on YouTube. And of course, like I just said, we went 3-2 in our 5 premium sports picks on Patreon. So, Jose, I appreciate you bringing in that good energy. And we didn't quite sweep the board, but we did a pretty darn good job yesterday with our free leans and our premium selections. So, Jose, thank you for taking the time to watch and comment. Now, guys, that's going to do it for me, but don't forget to check me out on Patreon. If you guys do end up getting a membership here today, just please keep in mind that Patreon bills you the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. So if you do end up signing up today, you're going to get billed today. You will get access to that content through the end of July, but you are going to get billed again on August 1st if you continue to opt in. Now, of course, when they bill you again on August 1st, you're going to get access to that content all the way through the end of August. But once again, Patreon bills you the day you sign up, and then the first of every month following that. So I always tell folks the earlier in the month you sign up, the better. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. With that said, guys, happy Wednesday to you. Happy hump day to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.